We're Snap, we are potting here on Snap Tackle Pod. Welcome to the show. I'm Mick Shaffer of KSHB 41, my Oklahoma A&M shirt, Cowboys in Central Michigan. What could go wrong there? Dion, Clisso, the Missouri fan / Virginia native.
Missouri native, Virginia fan.
Missouri
I went to
native,
Mizzou.
Virginia
Went to
fan.
Mizzou.
Yes.
But I also follow Virginia as well.
Lord of all things, Preps KC. What's going on, man?
Not too much. I guess I should have, Mizzou's playing on Thursday. We're recording this on Wednesday. I should have worn my Mizzou shirt. Actually, my favorite Mizzou t-shirt is currently drying. So that's okay. What that is.
Well, I've got a lot of teams to cheer for on Thursday. Oklahoma State, Missouri, and then Purdue, because the Boilermakers are wearing patches to honor on their decals, rather, on their helmet to honor Lynn Dawson. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I went to the game last week and was at 47th and Raytown Road at 6:18 and got into the game about 7:30. Thanks to a wreck in a stalled car. Missed the choir formation, and almost maybe kind of glad I didn't, because that was kind of a cool thing.
At the stadium, we didn't quite know what was going on.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
And so in the press box, which is way up there, we struggled for a while to realize what's going on. Why is Mahomes running out there? They're running off. And so on the broadcast, obviously they narrated it and gave it some depth.
I will go ahead and big time you here. Where I saw the game when I was there was maybe the best seat in the house. So
where was that? Thanks
right. Thanks to Gary Spaney at the Chiefs. Yeah. We help select the Chiefs Coach of the Week each week, and thanks to Gary. Last minute on Wednesday, he called and asked if I'd like to sit in the Clark Hunt suite, and I said sure. So Cole Young and I went. The food was fantastic. Everyone was very nice, and I appreciate that honor. They've done a couple of different things with them because of our relationship, been on the field a few times. They did a great thing with the Simone Award finalists a few years ago on a Thursday night game that just worked out. They took all the finalists out to the game, and that was a great thing. So the Chiefs, really involved and appreciate that. And that is a good vantage point if you can get it. Yeah. That's on the old press box level back in the day before they shot the press box.
A lot lower, yeah. No, that's cool and that's awesome. Hey, it pays to be the czar of high school sports in Kansas City.
And answer your phone at the right time too. That's probably exactly. I'm not going to kid myself. I appreciate the honor, but I'm sure that I was far down on the list when it came to it. But like I said, everyone was very nice. Rita Hunt was that Lamar Hunt Jr.'s wife, as nice as could be. And we talked high school football with people in the suite as well. So that was kind of fun too. Yeah. So that was a good time.
Yeah, they actually honored my son's team last year after winning state championship. They got to be on the field, honored at halftime. They were there, in the late second quarter leading up to halftime, taking video of Patrick Mahomes running out of bounds. It was a memory they'll have for the rest of their lives. So we appreciate the Chiefs and their cooperation and their support of high school football here in Kansas City. All right, that's what we're here to talk here on Snap Tackle Pod. It is week 1 of high school football in Kansas, week 2 in Missouri. Let's look back here first, Dion. What happened in that Liberty North, Lee Summit North game? I guess a lot of times defense is ahead of offense this time of year in the first week in the season, and I guess it certainly wasn't that game.
Yeah, that game was pretty well dominated by Liberty North. It was 14-0, I think, at halftime. 17-0 until late in the fourth quarter, and Lee Summit North got a score there. A couple factors at play here. You return 9 of 11 off of one of the best defenses in the city, including the Buck Buchanan Award winner, who's as recruited as anybody. And you're probably talking on that defense, there's probably 7 or 8 college football players. Even in Class 6, you aren't guaranteed having 5, 6, 7, 8 college football players, let alone maybe 3 or 4 D1 and maybe a Power 5 top 50 recruit in the country type thing either. Defense is a little ahead of offense. And I think people, at least on the North, knew that they were going to be a team that was going to struggle offensively a little bit. They're bringing in 2 new quarterbacks. They've got a good running game, and that's, I think what they'll probably do. But I think if a team like Liberty North that's that loaded on defense knows you may be not one-dimensional, but your passing game may be a work in progress to start the season, it makes it tough to get some offense going.
Yeah, but that was the narrative for Lee Summit North coming in. It was all the college talent they had there, not just college talent, but D1 FBS talent, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but more than that. And Liberty North just kind of shut them down. You mentioned the late score late in the game. Does that change your mind on things? It's early. It's week 1. These 2 teams could very well meet up again in the playoffs. But is Liberty North I don't know I can't remember who you thought was the team to beat going in. Is it the Eagles?
I said Lee Summit North is probably the most talented team. I picked Liberty North in week 1. I just thought it was a better matchup, veteran quarterback on Liberty North, veteran defense. I mean, just early season type thing. I don't know if they meet like that again, which it will be in the state championship game. They are on the opposite side of the brackets again. So except Liberty North would have to get through CBC if they were to come out of their own bracket. I mean, let's not forget they've got teams like Rockhurst and in their bracket as well. And same for Lee Summit North. Ray Peck's really good. So that's and Nixa. Nixa is in their district. Don't keep an eye on Nixa. So there's no guarantees those two teams automatically pop out of their districts. But if they did, they would be on the opposite side of the bracket again this year.
Ray Peck and Rockhurst was another marquee game last week, and I guess in opposite fashion, the offense won out for the most part in that game. Ray Peck gets the victory. Did that surprise you at all?
No, I thought. I bought into Kelly Donahoe because he seemed really confident, and they were leading that game, so I felt pretty good about that in the third quarter. But Ray Peck's offense, which is as good as anybody's, won out in that game, and I think those are two really good teams that are good enough to go deep. Be in district championship games, if not beyond that. I'm curious to see Rockers this week against an upstart Blue Springs South that got their first win since 2020. And then also Ray Peck against
winless last year.
They were winless last year. Ray Peck against Park Hill. Park Hill scored a ton of points against Columbia Battle. We'll see. I mean, Ray Peck. Coach Sean Martin said our defense. We're going to have to outscore some people early on. He goes, we like what we have on defense, but it's inexperience. We're still putting it together. It's going to take a while to come together. He goes, but we know we can score. So, expect to see. I don't know how many points can be scored this week with Ray Peck and Park Hill. It's going to be crazy. Yeah. But another close game between Rockhurst and Ray Peck. I think every single one of their games they played last year are 7 points or less, one score, and scored late. Fourth quarter, the score in the fourth quarter has won it. Those two teams are pretty evenly matched. I think Rockhurst can be pretty good down the line. And don't forget, this is a junior laden team. Mm-hmm. They'll be a lot better now at the end of the season. They are now, and they will be really good come next year.
What kind of flew under the radar last week when we were previewing these games, we kind of focused on those two big marquee Class 6 matchups, was maybe the two best teams in Class 5 on this side. And Fort Osage and Grain Valley, they hooked up again in a rematch of a playoff game last year, in which Fort Osage won. Fort Osage pulls away, gets the victory again this time.
Yeah, kind of sloppy game. Both of them turned the ball over a few times. I don't think they're going to send that game to the Hall of Fame by any means.
That's August football. It's a lot of
August football.
August
yeah,
football
you try it like Jeff Myers, the old East coach, said. Nobody wins week 1. You just don't lose. And so
that's my old
I got to watch
right there.
Yeah, I got to watch a decent amount of that game. And Fort Osage looks really good. I think Grain Valley is a good team. I think they're going to be there down the line. But Fort looks like they're coming in ranked number 2 in Class 5 now, and I think that says exactly where they are. I think there are 2 or 3. I can't remember. The Webb City's in there too. But I think Fort Osage is really good. They're physical, they're fast, they're big, they've got size, they've got a veteran quarterback, they've got a playmaker, they've got a couple other playmakers who made plays in that game outside of Lorenzo Fenner. So yeah, I'm sure they've got some things they want to clean up. They got Kearney this week, and that'll be a good test definitely for Kearney. They're going to have to, Platte County is not down, but they're not, I don't know if they're state championship game caliber this year. They're a little, new offensive players. A little younger team. Kearney got a good one at Platte County last week in overtime, 21-14. And for Kearney, that's just week 1 wins are not that important, but when you haven't beat your rival for 3 straight years, it becomes important. Much like Blue Springs South hadn't won a game since 2020. That one win is as important as any other wins they'll have this year, just because of what it does for that team.
All right, so the Missouri classifications are out, districts, classes, all that stuff, which is good. It's the season. Yeah. About time.
7 a.m. on Friday morning. That's when it went up. Yeah.
Any twists, any turns, any curveballs thrown there at the end?
Staley up. So every team in the gold and the silver is now a Class 6 team, which is, I think, kind of where people thought they were going. Center up to Class 4.
Up to 4?
Yeah, which makes their situation a little tougher. That being said, they're athletically as talented as anybody.
I saw in the summer they're dripping with talent all over.
Yes,
the skill position.
So they'll get a good test this week with Lincoln Prep. That's going to be a great game. But no, those are the two biggest ones. And nobody from 5 kind of stayed the same outside of Staley going up. 4 up. I mean, if you look at just, I mean, if you're looking outside, St. Joe Lafayette went down to 3. So now the St. Joe schools, St. Joe Central is a 5, and Lafayette and Benton are both in Class 3. And now I don't know how many people follow the situation in St. Joe, but there has been long talk of what they're going to do because those 2 high schools are shrinking.
Yeah.
There was discussion at one point of shutting them all 3 down, building a massive brand new school, and just having St. Joseph High School, which would make it
Which
the
three?
biggest
Which
school
3
in
are
the
you talking
state.
about?
St. Joe Lafayette, St. Joe Benton, and St. Joe Central, all the St. Joseph
All
school
3.
districts.
Okay, yeah. Wow.
There was talk of that got voted down. They couldn't get any steam on that.
It'd be like a Class 7 school, wouldn't it? I mean,
Well, it would easily be the biggest school in the state. And then there was talk of closing, one of them down, merging. The problem is that the 2 smaller schools are Lafayette and Benton. Yeah. Lafayette's on the north side of town, Benton's on the south side of town, and Central's in the middle. So if you shut one of them down, it's commutes, it's major redistricting. So we'll go into that at a different time later. But that Lafayette coming down to 3 was different. And that's kind of those are the biggest ones. I mean, you had like University Academy went up to 3, but they co-opted with the Kaufman School, and plus they had a district bonus from last year. So they were going to probably go up to 2 anyway, and then they had the kids in, so they go up to 3. Summit Christian stays in 3. St. Michael's, I think they've been in 2. They stay in 2. So on the smaller school level, things were pretty much the same. But Staley going up to 6 is the biggest thing. Which for Staley, you're like, well, the only thing that hurts Staley is now they don't get any bonus points. Like when they beat Blue Springs, they would have got bonus points. Now they don't get any for their districts. So.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Hey, doesn't
matter now.
It's your size right there. All right, let's get to it. The next big 3 games of the week. We'll stay on the Missouri side here and then introduce Kansas football season. You mentioned Lincoln Prep and Center. That is
yes.
We have Class 3 and Class 4 there, correct?
Class 4. Lincoln Prep's Class 4.
Lincoln Prep's Class 4. Okay.
Yeah. So last year they played in the regular season. No, they were both Class 3 last year. They may have been both Class 3, and they may have gone up.
They were both Class 3 last year.
Yeah. So they both Lincoln Prep went up too. So they're both Class 4. Could see each other again in the same district. This is a great city.
You know what? Actually, no, they were Missouri Class 4 last year.
They were last. Okay.
They've been Class 4
for a while. That's what I thought. They played in the regular season, and then they decided we're going to try and do this every year. It's one of those games they scheduled. It's a great game for the city. It's the Deepest Squally Moore Metro matchup game of the week. So we'll have complete coverage of that along with you guys on 41, and it's going to be a great. They do a tailgate. It's a great event. And it's a fantastic game. They play pretty much in everything else, and they decided last year, hey, we need to start playing in football. So
yeah, about time.
it's a huge rivalry and everything else. I mean, a huge rivalry. So that should be a good one. I think you're gonna see a lot of talent display. John Price isn't in Lincoln Prep anymore, but they went and hung 60 on a Cameron team I thought would be a little better. And then Center hung 60 on St. Joe Lafayette.
Yeah.
So they're both coming off big wins. You talk about depth. Maybe Lincoln Prep has a little bit more depth, but not a ton. So all their starters are going to play all games, no matter what the score is. So it's going to be mano a mano all game long.
Yeah. Kearney at Fort Osage. We didn't mention the Bulldogs. They go into the Lions Den and take care of Platte County last week. A good win in overtime on the road. Yeah,
like I said earlier, you're going to find out a lot about Kearney this week. Platte County, like I said, is not quite as good as they've been. Fort Osage. This is a game that they have in the past. They've played each other off and on over in the last decade. They kind of went back and forth with the results in that game. And Fort Osage is definitely the heavy favorite here. But you're going to find Logan Mick likes his team at Kearney, and he's going to find out exactly where they stand. It's a great game week 2 for his team, coming off a good win, going and playing. It's up. You don't have to. You're not going to play somebody that you should beat. Coming off a big overtime win, emotional. You have to strap it back up. They had to come in Saturday morning and start watching film on Fort Osage because Fort Osage is really good.
Well, how about this? Their first 3 games of the season at Platte County, at Fort Osage. Finally, you get a home game. You'd have a breather, right? No, it's Smithville coming down.
No, they made sure that Kearney, Smithville, and Platte County all played each other in the first few weeks because Platte County's playing Smithville this week. And so they said, okay, we can't break those up. And with the conference alignment, with Platte County being up, they said, well, we got to get the Platte County game in there in the non-con. So they all play each other the first 3 weeks.
So they're all just kind of doing a round robin?
Yes, that's one thing they kept. The Suburban Conference did not break those 3 up so where they wouldn't, I used to think the Platte County Kearney rivalry was huge. And then as Smithville's gotten better, I don't know. Somebody told me that the only thing Platte County and Kearney agree on is how much they don't like Smithville. And now Smithville's been really good. So I mean, the thing about it is they all, especially in football in the last decade, they all have played for or won a state championship.
Yeah.
And so they're all really good, and that makes it good. And however you think heated the football rivalry is, I dare you to go down to state wrestling one year
to
the class 3 mat in the corner. Don't go in the stands in that little corner because it's nasty.
Or do, because it's great and it's some of the best.
Yes, I called the mat the class 3 mat
region
one year, and it was great. There were so many great matches on that mat. But you could hear those fans behind you, man. They were it was on between those 3 schools.
All right, Liberty North, if you're going to be the top team in Kansas City, we're going to keep an eye on you, and it's going to be hard to ignore them with that schedule week in and week out, and you can't ignore Liberty North and Liberty this week. Blue Jays got a big win last week too. Yeah,
30-0 over Lee Summit West. Coming in, Coach Fergon said he thought his defense was going to be really good. I think they had 8 or so starters back on that group, just like Liberty North does on their side. And so I think that's what you're going to see here. 2 tough defensive teams going at it. And I think, Liberty, Lee Summit West is down. They're not as good as they've been, but Liberty went in and stepped on them. And that says a lot about where Liberty is a program, because they have gone from being, they'd struggled there for a while when they came back up to 6 after the split, and were 3 or 4 win team, but they have been a 6, 7, 8 win team, have won a conference title, have done those things, have got to several district finals. So that's a squad that really, and a program that really is established and really good. And of course, Liberty North, we know what they're doing. So that game, and this game has been close last few times they played it. It's crazy. It's fun. And that's a great rivalry game early in the season to get another non-con because they're not in the same conference.
Yeah, I mean, look, last year they were 8-4, and 3 of their losses, 2 were against Liberty North, 1 was against Leaf Summit North, the other was Great. Yeah. So I mean, that's literally could be a top 5 team in the state right there.
Yes. You could put Liberty's one of those teams that if we bracketed out some of the top teams in the Suburban Conference in Class 6 and we spread them out, you could easily see Liberty in a Final Four or at least a quarterfinal.
Yeah,
because they're good enough to get there. They're a top 10 team playing in a league where they're maybe in the top half. You count Suburban Gold and Silver together, playing where they're maybe the 4th or 5th best team. All
right, let's get to it here. Kansas side, ring the bell. Welcome to football this season, Kansas, and they're hitting the ground running, man. You got Blue Valley Northwest at St. James, one of your Remax Big 3 games of the week. It's the 6A state champs against the 4A state champs. Obviously, they're in the same league, but they are hitting each other right there in week 1.
Yeah, the Simone winner and the Fontana winner are gone.
They're both gone. One's still playing high school football, but in Louisiana.
Yes, Jackson House went with his dad. His dad's the defensive coordinator at LSU, so he's at, I think, the Denham school. Denham, like Denham, I think, or not Durham. I think it's Denham. He'd like the tweet I did yesterday, so I was trying to see where he was at school. Yeah. Great kid, by the way, Jackson House. A lot of fun to talk to. Wish he was still here, but congratulations on his dad getting that job. But Mike and Paulie's gone, but Blue Valley Northwest, and I was out at both places first day of practice. It's funny when a team wins a state title in the big class, unless it's just one magical group that goes through. If that team is truly building a program, you see it the next year when you walk out there. Blue Valley Northwest got some dudes. There's a reason why they mopped up Derby.
Yeah,
and
they graduated physical 15 starters, but they have expectations to be right back there this year. It's more than just one class there.
It's the thing that got me watching Blue Valley Northwest when they first got there. When Clint Grider got there, I followed him on Twitter, and he is a good follow because he gives a really good look into what things are going on, not just with the football team. He runs the weight room, but with all sports at Blue Valley Northwest, how the female sports are doing, how the non-football sports are doing in the weight room, things they're doing, achievements they make. And you could see as those achievements were being made in the weight room, Blue Valley Northwest get better. And that's why in year 5, he's got some dudes. Or year 6, he's got some dudes.
Running back, outstanding. Yes. They've got the kid, I'll remember his name in a second, who's an offensive lineman, a tight end.
Yes, I interviewed him.
Lineman.
Yes, I interviewed him, and he's big, physical looking kid. I mean, he looks like a guy who's a big time football player. And no, they've got a really good team
in college, but they got him in the O line for the most part in high school.
And then you flip over to St. James, and they got Wade Spencer back at defensive end, who's a fantastic player. In our Simone Watch this week, we talk about Buchanan and the Buchanan and the Bell guys, and Wade Spencer's definitely a guy there. And there's a with the exception, Jackson House is gone. A lot of juniors on that St. James team last year won state championship. Tyler Claiborne's gone. The middle linebacker
receiver.
Neeson is back, outstanding. Talk about 3-sport athletes. I got to cover that guy in all 3 sports. I did a basketball game. I saw his covered football. Did a basketball game and saw him in track, and he is great in all those. They've got and they really like the quarterback they have, and I think the statement was made that I think he's a junior. I'm going to clarify all that because
Sammy's little brother.
Yeah. And if there was no Jackson House, if he did not exist, he probably would have started last year as a sophomore.
He played some last year early on because Tom Radke will tell you the Fontana Award winner wasn't playing like one those first 4 games. Jackson House wasn't Jackson House. He caught momentum and played great towards the end of the season. Obviously led him to a state title, but it was kind of maybe a little 2 quarterback system there for a bit.
Yeah, and Wheeler is, Reggie goes, we feel pretty good. He goes, we miss Jackson. We'd love to have Jackson. We feel pretty good with the guy they got.
Yeah. All right, quickly, I got about 5 more minutes left in the show. DeSoto at Lansing. Why is that one your big 3?
Well, Rick Pollard moves over to Lansing. Lansing was an improving program the last few years under Dylan Brown. He moves over, and now he's offensive coordinator, I think, at Lawrence. DeSoto is always good. Brian King does a great job with that program. They graduate some good players again, but they always just seem to kind of reload. I don't know what it is about that school district. They've got plenty of football players. I mean,
like I tell you, good athletes out here.
Yes. And so Lansing, I think, is a spot that had been getting better. And, Rick Pollard did a really good job over at Piper. He moves over to Lansing. Did not know this until last week. He has lived in Lansing for 15 years.
That's convenient.
It's like a homecoming for him. He's coaching his kid. He goes, now when I go to the corner store, I get to talk about the actual football team I coach because I'm in red now instead of purple, and they don't look at me funny. So it was kind of funny. I did not know he lived in Lansing, and he's kind of a Lansing guy. So he's lived there for 15 years. So this is I think a passion for him. Not that Piper wasn't, but when you're coaching your own kid and that kind of thing, it's always a great situation.
Tonganoxie and Baser Linwood. What do you think?
You can kind of lock this one in for.
Can Tongi bounce back?
I think they will. Tongie's a lot like a lot of smaller Class 4A schools. They're class driven, like group of kids driven. The one thing about it is Al Troyer, a great coach, retired at the end of the year. His son Preston takes over.
So 2 years ago, didn't they have like 2 Simone Award winners?
They had the Fontana and the Bell. Yeah. So they have got what they do is in the years when they don't have a lot of talent, they're still really tough to beat. And the years when they do have a lot of talent, they beat you. And this game has been the first game of the season for the last 5 seasons, which started when they were in the Caw Valley together. And even when they went to the UKC, Baser kept that game. They're like, we want to keep this game, and it kicks off the season. They've split 2-2 the last 4 years. So it's definitely, it's kind of one of my favorite games. And I have to admit that it's an easy big 3 for me every year, the first week of the season, just because I like those 2 towns. And I like those 2 programs, and they always put on good football teams. And of course, Rod Stahlbaumer does a fantastic job at I'm going to interview my radio show, and my question is going to be, okay, what kind of kid you got this year? Because that's what your offense is going to look like. He is one of the best at, I got a bunch of big guys and a running back. We're going to run the ball. I got a bunch of receivers and a quarterback. We're going to throw it 40 times a game. Our defense is good. We're going to win low scores. Our defense is not good. We're going to outscore you. So he does a great job there. So that's just a fun game to watch.
Couple of maybe honorable mention big 3 games of the week over on the Kansas side. You have Blue Valley West at St. Thomas Aquinas. I really like.
That was a tough call right there. That's a good one right there.
Aquinas drops down to 4A, but look, they're still going to be one of the more talented teams in the EKL, which means one of the more talented teams in Kansas. I love that one. And maybe a sneaky good one here. Olathe West, really good quarterback going to Lawrence Free State, who had a great season last year. They lose a lot, but a good program there. sneaky good game on from the Sunflower League.
Yeah, no doubt. I think Olathe West is a team to watch. Free State, they do a good job of replacing what they've got, and seem to. They had the one bad year that COVID, that first COVID year, they didn't win a game. That it seems like it didn't even happen, because last year they came back and were right back to being Free State 6-7 wins a year. So that's a good one. And Blue Valley West, I'll tell you right now, they look like a team that could go to state championship game. Sage Huffman, their outstanding tailback, just a junior, and of course Sean Carroll on the Aquinas side. So two really good tailbacks in that game.
Yeah, and then I believe Matt Nagy's son is fighting for the quarterback job, or may not be, but he's going to be on the field for Blue Valley West as the Nagys are back.
That's I'll have to keep an eye on that one too. So that's so you get that Chiefs trickle down that my own, like I said, last time I was at the Chiefs was I didn't have that conversation where I was at. So you guys get a little more scuttlebutt than I do.
At Jackson House long before you did. Yeah.
Well, the funny thing was he was going to stay, and then they decided to go ahead.
Well, he was back there at the Mill Valley 7-on-7, hanging out with his buddies over the summer. But yeah, he is down there in Louisiana. Another Thursday night game. Olathe South, who's good. They've got some
Ron Litchfield.
And then they play Lawrence, so that'll be a good one.
No, that's a great Thursday night game. There's also a Thursday night game on the Missouri side. The University Academy is playing St. Mary's Academy.
Yeah,
not Colgan, not St. Mary's. St. Mary's Academy. Trust me, I had to dig that one up to find the logo. And it's a Thursday afternoon game because they don't have lights at University Academy. So I think they're starting at 4, so they can get the game in before the sun goes down. So a good game for them as they were kind of double scheduled there and had an opening, and that's a Thursday game there. So there's Topeka schools that are playing on Thursday. I know that we don't talk attention
to now, right? Because they're in leagues with our teams.
Yes, they're playing a Thursday game because the Highland Park West share Hummer. Okay. So they have to play some Thursday games there. And one of these days I will get to Hummer Sports Complex. I hear it's a fantastic place to watch a football game. Just have not made it out to.
Been there. It's been 20 years though. All right, Dion, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. Thanks to you for watching as well. Week 2 of Snap Tackle Pod is in the books. Have fun on Friday night. We'll see you.